Hi, everyone. Today, we're going to do an example of section 11.5, which is under chapter 11, specifically focused on the logistic regression exercise. So I'm specifically focused on 11.5, test your skills, logistic regression. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this over. I have a brand new workbook open. So let me go to my process, open up the task and the spreadsheet, and we're going to do the regression exercise, logistic regression exercise. Okay, so we're given a bunch of data on churn. Churn data is basically whether or not a person will sign up once again. I'll click the next button so we can read a little bit about it. So this churn data contains information about customers and whether they choose to drop their phone service or not. They want us to use the information to create a logistic regression model to predict if an individual customer will stop using the service. So again, as a reminder, logistic regression, it's going to be a value that's going to give us the probability or the likelihood, in this case, that a person will stop using the service or not. So we're going to use the churn data. This information here is the data legend. So it'll tell you a little bit about your data. And then here is the churn data that we're going to be using. So as a first step, they want us to create the logistic regression model by using the JavaScript add-in. They want us to train 80% of the data. And then we're going to, part D is really important. It says, start with all the predictors, removing individual insignificant predictors until you arrive at your best model. That's going to be important. As a secondary piece, what we're going to do is use this data to make predictions. So we're going to get odds on this data. So I'll start with the churn data, and we'll go ahead and start with 1.1 on here. Oh, sorry about that. So let's go to 1.1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the JavaScript automation development environment, or JADE, click Excel Tools, Analytics, Logistic Regression. Now it's saying, okay, well, where's your data? Well, my data is here. This is all of my data. And so once I highlight the data, I'm going to click right here on the right-hand side. So that's the active name of the data sheet. And since I have already highlighted the data, all I have to do now here is click on the little spreadsheet icon for the data range, and it'll automatically select the data range that I have highlighted. They have asked us to train the data 80%, so split it 80-20. So I'm going to go ahead and click split data, and that's going to provide the train column. So in column P, you can see which ones are going to be used for the training set. And then at the end, the 20%, the ones that are false, will be used for the testing set. So now that I've split my data, I can configure the model. The outcome is going to be the Y value. So what is my Y value here? Well, my Y value is going to be whether it was churned or not. So I'm going to go ahead and select this column, and then I'm just going to click on the little icon here to the right, and that's going to select those values. Now for my predictors, I'm going to select everything except the train. You don't want to select the train because the train value is not a predictor. It's not an input. Only columns C through O are. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Click here. Now I'm going to run the model to see what the model outputs are, and I can determine what values are significant predictors. How we determine that, if you recall from the reading material, go to the p-values, and if these p-values are less than 0.05 or less than 5% or 0.05, that means that those p-values, those predictors, are statistically significant, meaning they are important contributors to the model. If they're greater than 0.05, then that means they are not significant and should not be included. So the ones that I can see that are less than 0.05 so far are these ones that I'm highlighting here. You can see all of the ones and go through your data to see all of the ones that are less than 0.05 And so I have all of them except 4 that are going to be included in the model. Over here on the right-hand side, it says now that we have this information, the logistic regression results, we can configure the model to include the ones that are statistically significant. Length is not statistically significant because the p-value is too high. So I'm going to uncheck that box. Day calls is not statistically significant. Evening calls is not statistically significant. And night calls is not statistically significant. All of the other variables are statistically significant, and I can determine that by, after I uncheck this, I'm going to click Run the model one more time, and it's going to give us the output, and you see that all of the new values should be less than 0.05. And you can see here that all of these values are less than 0.05. Now, this is assuming a 95% confidence interval. Okay. So now they want us to make predictions. So now that we have the variables that we're going to include, so I'm going to go to the predictions sheet. So basically what we want to do is make predictions on all of these records that we have here. So here's the data sheet. So click to the right, and my data range is highlighted. So I'm just going to click that, predict the outcomes. And now we have the odds, the probability, and the prediction as to whether or not it will actually, the customer will stop using the service or not. Okay, so now that I'm there, let me just click out of the X so that I can submit this. And the only thing I can think of that might go wrong here is that we're looking at a smaller p-value, in which case the VM messages might not be included, but let's take a look. I'm assuming a 95% confidence interval, and yeah, that looks like it's correct. Okay, so there you have it. I hope that this was helpful to you as you work through these 3 logistic regression problems. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.